Hello chess fans! Today we're going to look at my game against Aman Hambleton from the Chess Bras. So this is actually my second time playing Aman over the board. The first time was around 2 years ago and I didn't have a FIDE rating, but now I do and you can see it down below. And in this game I wasn't really able to prep too much, but I kind of knew what my opponent would play, so we're going to see how that turned out. So my opponent started off with this move d4. I went for d5, knight c3, knight f6, bishop f4. And yeah, I was sort of expecting this. Now, there was other things I was also expecting, but after the game, my opponent told me that he just sort of like read some course on this and was just going to play it in every game no matter what. And I think this is a pretty reasonable approach because of the fact that it's not like any of the players that were there are going to like prep insanely for him. We didn't really have much time for that. And also, like, I don't really think it was too necessary. He was probably going to surprise me anyways. I didn't expect this. So I prepped only for like an hour or so, and this was maybe like 10 minutes of my prep, so I didn't do much work on this. So he kind of caught me here. So I went for a6, he went for e3, I went for e6, and here he went for this move g4, which is recommended in a lot of courses. And the problem with the move, for example, if you develop normally like knight f3, here you can come under fire with moves like c5, knight c6, b5, and the queen side kind of rules. And if you get no counterplay on the king side, you don't really have anything. So here you have to strike out with moves like g4. And the idea is to go g5, and the queen nicely guards this here. So here I play bishop b4. The idea is if he goes g5, now I can go knight e4 with double pressure here and also pressure on the pawn. And if he allows me to win one of these, I should be winning the game. So instead he went for knight e2. I castled. He went a3, and yeah, as seen by the arrows, if I take, he takes back with a knight, and now his pieces make sense. So I should just go back, bishop e7. He goes g5, and here I have two moves, and both of them are sort of playable, knight h5 and knight d7, and both of these moves I kind of have on my files. The idea with knight h5 is that, okay, here you're attacking the pawn, so they will defend it, and then here you can take, go for c5, pressuring the center. Here white would usually go bishop d3, turning these sacrifices here. You go c4, attacking the bishop, and if the bishop moves back, you go b5, and you're just kind of much better because your counterplay is way quicker, and they can't go h5 because they lose this pawn at all times. So they can't go bishop back. What they would have to do is sack the bishop here. Takes, go queen h5, king g8, g6. And yeah, I'm not going to go over the rest of this line. You can check it out yourself. But basically, it's a long forced draw, and there's a super GM game here between Fallujah and So. So yeah, this is what I sort of have in my file. Like, okay, if white finds all that, like, just give them the draw. Like, and also, I don't think my opponent would have been happy with the draw. Now, after the game, my opponent told me that they didn't really know the line so much with knight h5. They knew the line much better with knight d7. So yeah, that was pretty unfortunate that my opponent picked the right lines to look at. But yeah, in hindsight, maybe knight h5 was a better choice. But I decided to go for knight d7 because I sort of wanted to play less forcing. And I really kind of didn't remember that bishop h7 line fully. I couldn't remember like if it's losing for white or if it's winning for white. I checked after the game and I realized it was a draw. But okay, I should have probably just assumed it was a draw because it's in my files. So here my opponent went for e4, which is a very exclam move. Now here I was expecting h5, and after c5, bishop g2, knight c6, the position is roundabout equal, but it's very, very fighting for both sides, and I thought this is a lot more something that a super GM would, or not a super GM, a GM would do. Because there's still a lot of play on both sides, there's a lot of room for me to make mistakes and for my opponent to make mistakes too. Okay, but my opponent went for e4. Now, e4 was not in my file at all. This came as a complete shock to me. I'd never seen this move before, and I was really, really shaken aback. I was like, oh my god, like, I've never seen this before. So here I spent like 10 minutes, and I really regret what I did in the game, but really I should have just taken this pawn. And I think it's a little bit of psychology because I was like, oh my god, this GM is sacrificing this pawn against me. This is what I like to do. I like to sacrifice pawns even though it might not be the most sound thing ever. But yeah, here after bishop takes g5, the position is pretty pleasant for black, I would say. Usually black's winning a pawn in most of the lines, but yeah, white gets a lot of counterplay, so it's very difficult to make this decision. So here I was afraid of this move rook g1, attacking my bishop, and after takes, I thought there's always ideas of knight h5, and here apparently the engine just laughs at me coldly and says I just take here, and after knight takes here I go queen h4, like, what? This I don't really understand this. For example, like, even rook g4 takes here, and like, okay, I guess you can't go bishop d3, but maybe like queen f3 followed by bishop d3, castles queenside. It looks incredibly scary. But for example, queen f3 might be a better move here. And then after a move like knight c6 attacking here, let's say c3, apparently after g6, like black's doing quite well here. Like all my weaknesses. Like this rook is nice, this bishop can come here. Yeah, it's really hard to evaluate it like that, but yeah, that was definitely better. Instead of that, maybe white should go for takes, h4, attacking the queen, queen e7. They can't really win the pawn because I have queen e4 with a fork here if they try to win the pawn. So after takes here, they'd have to play a move like queen d2, and here maybe I should go for c6, go for b5, and okay, the position is a little bit better for black, but yeah, it's definitely very, very chaotic. So yeah, with best play, this might be like minus 0.1 or something, but yeah, I didn't really know this move before whatsoever, so immediately I made a horrible move. And yeah, wise of my opponent to choose this sort of move because yeah, it's definitely a very aggressive move. So here I took, and after takes I played c5. And yeah, it sort of comes with a miscalculation because I kind of just assumed my opponent would go like queen d2, bishop g2, I don't know, queen d3 maybe, something like this. And if white plays any of those moves, like black should be doing better. Like black should be significantly better with any of those moves. Or h4, something like this. But yeah, the move I simply overlooked was d5. And now I don't get any counterplay on the center. My bishop is terrible. He's getting this nice outpost for a knight possibly on d5 in the future, and the c5 pawn blocks all my advances. So yeah, this was very bad by me, and I just completely overlooked this move, and here I was just, again, I was taken aback. So already I was surprised by this e4 move, and then I'm hit with another punch when I realized right after I played c5, I was like, oh my god, like he has d5. I touched the pawn, I moved it up, and then I was like, oh my god, he has d5, and then after like a few minutes he played d5, and yeah, here I was already very, very annoyed. So I have to take, I think actually, wait, I think I might have had another option. No, okay, I didn't have another option here. Maybe that was somewhere else. But okay, here I went for the move queen a5, and if you notice, it's really hard to develop. For example, if I go for a move like knight b6, he can take, go bishop c7, and as you can see by the arrows, he's winning a piece or an exchange. And then if I take with the bishop, he can just take this pawn because there's nothing defending it anymore. So I can't really do either of those. And if I go knight c6, he can castle, and then, okay, it's even more unpleasant. So I have to go for this move queen a5 check. And here, some people might be asking about this move b4 because, okay, I can't take because I'm pinned. But after queen b6, my c5 pawn now makes a lot of sense because, okay, now we're pressuring this. And yeah, c5, the pawn on c5 was hurting me a lot because I can't activate my pieces along this weak diagonal. So yeah, this would definitely be nice for me. Instead of that, I was expecting this move knight c3. He didn't end up playing it, but I think it's also a quite reasonable way to play after something like this. I thought my position was pretty much okay with this move. Rook d8 coming, though maybe here I have problems with bishop c7. Yeah, it's possible that bishop c7 is a nice move for black here. But yeah, I thought after like bishop e6, like rook c8, I kicked this guy out. Like I should be doing okay. But instead my opponent played bishop d2, which I thought was a very nice move. And in hindsight, maybe I should have expected this more, but I briefly calculated. I thought after queen c7, castles queenside as was playing the game, thought it was okay. And here I made a pretty decently sized mistake. And after this, I made a blunder that I think just loses the game on the spot. But here I really should play this move knight c6. And it's for the reason that this knight necessarily doesn't want to commit to b6. It could also go to e5 in many positions. But not only that, this queen could also be used like to gain a tempo. Like I could go rook d8 now. Like, for example, if my opponent goes h4, now I could go rook d8, and now the queen sort of just has to move to b3. And then we're going to see we got something similar in the game, but I gave my opponent much more options. Like here again, I have knight e5, and I can go here. This bishop is coming to e6. My position is actually like quite nice out of nowhere. So yeah, this with knight c6, the position is still like around like +1 or something. But yeah, it's not really like losing yet for black. But after knight b6, it teeters on the edge of losing, and my opponent played an extremely accurate move. So great on my opponent for finding this. Take a few seconds to see if you can find the move for white. So yeah, it's not like a tactic or anything, but just a very nice move. So here I was expecting queen d3. This is the only move I was looking at. And then I thought after rook d8, he doesn't have bishop f4 because, okay, I take his queen. And after queen g3, takes he again. He never has bishop f4 because I just trade rooks and then he has no advantage. And here I thought, okay, I should reasonably be able to hold this game. Like, yes, it's unpleasant for me because, okay, his knights are very good. His bishop is coming on this diagonal and all his pieces are better than all of mine. But, except for this rook. But I still thought I could hold this. But instead, he plays this move queen b3, which is incredibly accurate because the rook wants to be on d8 to prevent bishop f4. If I dilly-dally with a move like knight c6 after bishop f4, I'm just lost. Like the queen is actually just trapped. If you notice, like where does the queen go? Can't go to d file, can't go this way. Like what do I do? So he has a threat here. He has a threat to go bishop f4. And let's say I go rook d8. I can't really exactly remember what was wrong with this one. I think it's, yeah, I just thought h4 or something like this. And it, again, like it becomes incredibly unpleasant. And you might say, like, wait, what's wrong with the natural move like bishop e6? Now, there's nothing especially wrong with this, but it's just the idea that I wanted my rook on d8. Like, I didn't want to play bishop e6. So I end up overthinking, and I really should have played like rook d8 or bishop e6. Like, one of these two moves was definitely the best move, but I played queen c6, avoiding bishop f4 and also attacking this knight, and preparing queen e6, queen g3, and queen g4. And yeah, this is just a little bit too slow, because my opponent played bishop g2, which I think is most natural. I played queen e6, attacking the queen here, and here I really expected my opponent to go for this move, queen g3, and then here my opponent told me that they were afraid of queen a2, and while I briefly calculated queen a2, my main idea was here, in which case, yeah, this is just really dumb, because I'm giving them exactly what they had previously, except up 2 tempos with bishop g2 and rook e1. So yeah, this was definitely a miscalculation on my part. Here, queen a2, though, gives me a lot of counterplay. For example, takes here, knight a4. I remember we were looking at this line, and I think my opponent, after the game, was being very respectful, because I was like, I don't think I have anything here. I think it's just like a fake attack. And my opponent is like, yeah, I guess you're right. But I think my opponent really saw more than me here, clearly, because, yeah, this is not a fake attack. I have some nice play here coming with bishop e6 here. Like, if white gets too confident, like, it could come crashing down here quite quickly. So, yeah, great on my opponent for not allowing that counterplay. So here he went for queen takes e6. I took here. And from this point, it just becomes really, really, really unpleasant. And it's already +3, even though I'm not down any material, clearly. So here my opponent went bishop e6. I went for knight d7, defending my knight. And at this point, I've already seen how the game can possibly end. I went here, here, knight g3, attacking my bishop. I went bishop e6. He just took. He went for this accurate move f4, attacking this pawn. Now here I went for knight d5. I was just kind of hoping, like, you know, maybe he'll do this. Because if he does this, it's not so simple. It's not at all simple anymore. Something like this, and then like, I don't know, this, and takes. Like, I'm losing. I'm dead lost. But it's not simple anymore. But instead of that, instead of doing that, being greedy, he played, okay, the accurate move. Here, I just completely missed this, and yeah, here I should just be completely lost. But okay, I played on a little bit because my opponent had like a minute or something. He took, he took here. I'm just completely lost in this position. And yeah, I just played a few more moves just to get the inertia off. And yeah, it's pretty clear that I'm completely lost here. And here he's threatening bishop h5, and I can't go g6. So I was just like, okay, what's even the point of playing anymore? And here I resigned. So yeah, definitely a quite disappointing game for me. I think a few things are to be learned here. First off, I can't let fear sort of take hold of me in this position. Like, I did briefly calculate after e4, bishop takes g5, but yeah, I really just underestimated it because of the fact that I thought that yeah, I just thought that he would get enough counterplay, and I really just didn't calculate it enough. So that was my first mistake. I think the second mistake is also this move c5 is just very, very bad. I just completely missed d5. Here if I go knight c6 or e5, like, I should still be doing like quite okay. But yeah, instead of that, yeah, just played this move too quickly, didn't really rethink my position. And then my next mistake after this was this move, knight b6. Yeah, I definitely saw that knight c6 would have been better. I saw this move, but I was just too tempted by knight b6, and I missed this whole queen b3 move. So again, looking at my opponent's resources, like, this is a classical game. I could have considered more than just queen d3. But after this, and then here, just complete overthinking. Like, I should just go rook d8 anyways. Like, why would his queen going to b3 not giving me this tempo matter so much? Like, it does matter a decent amount, because rook d8 is obviously a much better move against here, where he has to commit the queen to f3 or something. But yeah, this was still clearly what I should have done. And then, okay, my opponent, queen c6 was bad, and then here again, I just completely missed takes. I just didn't even evaluate that, and after bishop e3, I should just be lost the rest of the game. I don't think I really made any huge mistakes. It just should be completely lost. But yeah, I think this is a game that I had a lot to learn from. I played this game really badly, and I think I played this whole tournament, like, this is like my worst tournament in like few years. I drew like a 2000, I drew a 2100, I beat a 1900, I beat a 1800. Then I drew a 2200 who's probably around 2000 strength because he hasn't played in like 15 years. And then I, of course, lost this game to Aman. So yeah, the whole tournament actually was really disappointing. But that sort of just happens in chess. Like sometimes you just have like a bad tournament, and what'll make you stronger is when you can forget about that tournament and think about the next one. So yeah, even though it was a bad tournament, there's no games that I played like particularly well, but there are a lot of things that I have learned from this tournament and that I'm going to be able to use in future games. So I still think that this tournament was overall like fine for me. I only lost around like 10 rating points or something. My CFC dropped to like 2250, so it's not like the end of the world. But yeah, definitely this game, a lot to learn from, and it's always nice because the only reason I came to this tournament, it was called the Maritime Chess Festival, is to actually play Aman. So I got the chance to play the guy that I wanted to play. The whole reason I came to the tournament was to play against this player again, because you don't get the opportunity to play against GMs often. So yeah, that's it in today's video, guys. If you like the video, please remember to leave a like and subscribe. And yeah, thank you to the Chess Bras for coming over to PEI and playing the tournament, because we don't really get a lot of GMs here, so it's really nice of you guys to come out. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.